I did say that there's no way Man United beat this Brighton team on their current form, as well as Brighton has been very good. But I thought at least they'd give more of a showing. Predicted a draw, but obviously we know Brighton thrashed Man United. Besides that, I think it was a pretty good week for me. But let's get into the game. Let's get into the Man United and Brighton game. First of all, we know that Dejavi's team are playing good football. They completely dominated that game. It was such a joy and pleasure to watch Brighton play football. Like, they're really cooking this season, and they might just be challenging for top four. Obviously, we know last season they got to top six, and the next step would then just be to try and break into that top four position that's now open for the taking. But Man United should just, sometimes you put your hands up and you say Brighton were the better team. We were completely outplayed. It's as simple as that. The only concerning thing for me is the manner of how they were beaten. I think first half it was a little bit tight. It was okay. Man United were trying. I specifically felt that Rashford was a threat, and I think he's been great this season, to be honest. It's just maybe his decision making. Sometimes he does get a little bit too greedy. Sometimes he does want to shoot a lot when the better option is to pass. But I do think he's trying. There's hard work there. He's trying. But Man United fans, we don't want to hear the ball was in play, the angles were wrong. No, we don't want to hear that. No excuse. Last week, Man United fans wanted my head on a spike because they felt like they had referee decisions go against them. Okay, what's the excuse now? Because this was a clean win. What do you mean by was it the correct decision to rule out the goal? You can clearly see that the ball was out of play. Let's not get into that. We're not doing that. You can see it for yourself. Stop making excuses for a poor performing team. Please sort your team out. Focus on the real actual problems in the team that's causing such bad results. The Rasmus Hojlund kid looks good. To me, technically, he didn't get a shot. He didn't even shoot in this game. But I thought the number 9 position comes to him more naturally than the previous options that Man United have had up front. And hopefully, maybe for him, he's just 20, so there's a lot of pressure, but hopefully he can start, the goals will start coming. Man United were just completely dominated, outplayed, outclassed, everything from the second half. For me, what was concerning is almost the lack of effort, or how easily Brighton were just knocking and passing it around. For the first goal, I think Brighton had 30 passes, back to front to back, and then went to go score 30 passes. That's brilliant. But there's times, especially in the second half, when it was like 3-0, 3-1, few minutes left, you could see that Man United just gave up. They accepted the fate, they accepted the defeat. There was not a lot of pressing, there was not a lot of chasing back. And I just don't know how you can throw in the towel like that. I do also question the attitude of Man United players as a whole, as a team. It's happened before last year when it was 7-0 to Liverpool. There was this talk of players not having the desire or the work rate that they should be having for someone that does play for one of the biggest teams in the world. As a privilege, someone who's on hundreds and thousands of pounds per week, they should be showing up more in games like this, or in tough times at least, so that you don't question their effort. It's happened before. We've had these discussions when Ronaldo did the interview and he exposed what's going on inside of Man United. I didn't believe that actually what he said was wrong. I know how he said it was wrong, right? And obviously during the interview, there was no way back for him after that. But if you look at the context, or the content, of what he said, it's true. I think the problem at Man United is that everything has gone wrong. And I believe that it would be extremely rare for a team who has so many off-field problems to then do well on the pitch. I think it directly correlates, and you can see now how everything that's happening off the pitch is also impacting or affecting what's happening for Man United players and the result that they're getting, right? So at the top of my head, the share price even fell, lost about 600 million there. Anthony's situation, yes, it's a little bit tough, but he's involved in an investigation, not a political channel, not a courtroom, so we're not going to get too much into that, but he can't play because of his allegations against him for domestic violence. We know what happened with Greenwood. It was also a similar thing. Also allegations, had to leave the club. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be allowed back. Things about the Glazers. There's been protests for years and years about the change of ownership that's wanted. The Glazers finally agreed to put the club up for sale, and then it looks like they're backtracking and they're not getting their valuations met. I believe that since Chelsea went for about 4 billion, they believe that the club is much bigger brand, so they should be going more. They're holding up for about double the price in that range. And the new owners did specifically say they want to change or fix things in the club. So, for example, reinvesting in the academy again, reinvesting in women's football, potentially renovating Old Trafford, removing completely the debt that Man United has had, and it would be like a pure cash takeover. But all of those issues that are happening off the pitch are affecting what's going on the pitch, as well as Jadon Sancho's situation. Against Arsenal, he didn't even make the team. Ten Hag was asked in the press conference, why didn't he make the team, not even the bench. He said he wasn't training up to the standard or the level that he required. Sancho then comes out personally, puts a statement refuting what the manager said publicly. So it's like a public civil war from Man United. Obviously, action must be taken in terms of disciplinary issues, and Ten Hag dropped him, and I believe now Sancho is training with the under-18s. He's being frozen out, and they're looking for more permanent solution of maybe selling him in January and things like that. There's just a lot going on, and I also question some of the purchases. Who's buying these players? I know Ten Hag has had a big say, and that's one thing that Man United fans can't complain about. You cannot complain about the fact that you have not had the money to invest in the transfer window. Man United have the most expensive squad in the Premier League, Chelsea being second, and Brighton, the team that started for Brighton this weekend, cost only 16 million. I mean, Casemiro was 70 million. He's on 300,000 pounds a week. And if you're thinking about it, or more than 300,000 pounds a week. And if you think about it, we question whether or not that was a bad purchase for someone who had clearly reached their peak. He was definitely past his prime, right? He's in his 30s when he was bought. 5-year contract, 4-year contract. Like, what was the long-term plan for that? Yes, he was very effective, changed the mindset of the Man United players, but it looks now like he's tired. It looks like his legs cannot carry him for a 90-minute high-pressure game. He's the most dribble-past player in the Premier League this season. I don't know. I think there's just so many things going on that you question. Or for me, it's not necessarily shocking. I genuinely believe that for all the turbulence that's happening around the club, off the field, will directly have some sort of impact on the field. Where do United go from here? I'm not necessarily sure. It's Bayern Munich in the Champions League away at the Allianz Arena on Tuesday, so it's not looking good for the short term. And I really don't know. They need to get themselves together. But for me, I would then start thinking that, okay, if I was a Man United fan, maybe it's time to panic, because I don't know how this season is going to go. A direct comparison is you can see how well Brighton is run. They invest in very young players. They have the most goals scored by teenagers, and then they sell those players for very big money, hundreds of millions. They've sold Cucurella, Caicedo, McAllister to Liverpool. They sold Robert Sanchez, although he was out of favour. They even sold Graham Potter last season. But you can see that they've then taken those proceeds, replaced those players and the coach with more competent players, that will know exactly their role, and they can get into the team and take off. And that's what's been happening. And you could see how well Brighton is run off the pitch. If they have Leandro Trossard as well, who went to Arsenal last season, who was having some disciplinary issues, De Zerbi froze him out, and he was arguably one of Brighton's best players after even scoring a hat-trick at Anfield. Once he had disciplinary issues, put to the side, sold him. De Zerbi even said we'll move on with Caicedo. De Zerbi even said that he won't keep a player that doesn't want to stay. We'll sell him and then we'll move on. And just look how well Brighton is doing. I think we have to respect it still. Pascal Gross, very underrated player in the Premier League, plays right wing back, plays in the middle, plays cam. I think he steadily puts up double-digit goal contributions every season, but doesn't get the same attention as everyone else. Moving along. Chelsea, another team that's struggling. Chelsea are also in crisis, failing to score yet again, not addressing the same problems that they've had for the past 2 years now. Interesting stat, I heard that Enzo Fernandez has more yellow cards than he actually has wins for Chelsea. He joined in January 2023. We are in the middle of September, and Enzo Fernandez's number of wins with Chelsea you can count on one hand. That is incredible. It's just chaos at Chelsea, to be honest. For me, I feel like there's just chaos. Too many players being bought, now too many players being sold, and then you think, okay, they're trying to stabilize, then they buy even more players, spending £1 billion on players themselves. That's just too much activity, and I don't understand how you feel like all those players will gel, and they would have to gel quickly to produce the desired results. And I think that's impossible. I think also with the new coach, he will need time to adapt. We could say, he's Pochettino's only 5 games in, he needs time, players to learn his philosophy. I do believe Chelsea has improved in terms of how they play. I think they play better football. It's just at the top end of the field they're not scoring, but they haven't been doing that a lot, and at the other end of the pitch they do still concede quite a few goals. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think Poch is a great manager. He is a good coach, but Chelsea are just really poor. Clearly they needed to go all out and get a very top striker that could come in, start banging in the goals at every opportunity that he gets. That's not happening for Jackson at the moment. Raheem Sterling, they bought Cole Palmer. What's the purpose of that? You just don't know what's going on with Chelsea. And Chelsea don't have the distractions of European football, so the only thing that they have to focus on is mainly the Premier League and getting their act together, because at this rate, Man United and Chelsea, it's not looking good, and it's not looking good especially for Chelsea. It's not specifically looking good for Chelsea because they've played now technically bottom half teams, right? Luton, Bournemouth and Forest, and I think out of that is just 4 points, and the big teams are still coming. The Arsenals, Man Cities, Newcastles, those are still coming for Chelsea. I really don't know how quickly Chelsea can get their issues solved, but it's also really not looking good for Chelsea. Besides that, to wrap up the Premier League weekend, Salah was good. Liverpool, Spurs and City all came from behind to win their games. City 5 out of 5, very impressive. Arsenal, Spurs and Liverpool just one draw in there, also undefeated. So it is looking like it's going to be an exciting Premier League season. In terms of how long these teams keep up this winning form, we don't know, but we just know that, okay, it's been a brilliant start to the Premier League. For the first time, we had our first 0-0 after 46 games. That's how bad Chelsea are, very disappointing. They almost gave us a 0-0 last week, but they lost that one. Maybe we could have done the same to avoid that statistic, but yeah, no, Premier League's goals are flowing. All the games are so enjoyable, a lot of drama. That being said, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. This was a very enjoyable Premier League weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.